Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Capers Business Ventures Connect podcast. We'd love for you to subscribe and looking forward to your reviews of our episodes. If you're interested in becoming a guest on our podcast, we'd love to have you. So please visit us at cbbservices.com/podcast, and we'll be in touch. We're glad you're here, and we're ready to get started. Ever wonder what it takes to be a great leader in your community? Well, you're in luck. My next guest is just that, so let's connect. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to visit with me at the Capers Business Ventures Connect podcast. I'm your host, Mel Capers, and I'm excited and delighted to be here with you. Hey, listen, before we get going, let me just give pause and give thanks to my great creator for allowing me just another opportunity to do his will on this side of heaven. I also want to thank some great friends of mine. First, we start with Tasha and Kevin White. They're co-founders of Vanguardian Global. They're doing amazing things at Vanguardian Global, and you should check them out. So please go by their website at vanguardianglobal.com. I also want to send a shout out to another good friend. She is Corliss Adwama. She is president of Agape Love in Action. It is a nonprofit organization that's doing amazing things for veterans. And she's also offering veterans calendars so you can keep up with what's going on in the world of Agape Love in Action and the veterans. Please go by her website at agapeloveinaction.com. And finally, a big shout out to another great friend. She is Sonia Pinckney Rose. She is founder and CEO of J.M. Pinckney Publishing. You need to check her out because she's doing amazing things there at J.M. Pinckney Publishing. Go to her website at jmpinkneypublishing.com. And my guest is here, and he's queued up and ready to go. And we're so happy to have him. He is my good friend, Dr. Taft Quincey Heatley. He's a coach, he's a leader, he's a pastor, he's an author. He is here, and we're ready for you to meet him. So let's do it in our first segment we call Meet and Greet. So happy to be here today with my good friend. He's a very good friend. We go way back. We go back to, 19 hours ago, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
19 hours ago, that's right. I'm so delighted to have you with me today, Dr. Taft Quincey Heatley. How are you today, my friend?
Doing well, Melvin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. You know, I'm always doing well when I'm in the place and the space with my good friend, Dr. Heatley. You know, I've been talking you up, and I want to get out of the way because I want people to know who you are. And we're in our first segment. We call this segment Meet and Greet. So please tell my listening audience, who is Dr. Taft Quincey Heatley?
Dr. Taft Quincey Heatley is a native of Hartsville, South Carolina, so Southern boy at heart. Currently serving as the 12th pastor of the Shiloh Baptist Church of Alexandria, Virginia. a historic church who next year will celebrate 160 years in existence. I've been serving there as pastor since 2015. I am a former investment banker turned pastor. So when I left Morehouse College, I became an investment banker working in the finance industry, but knew that my ultimate calling was in the ministry. And so after a number of years, pursued that. Ended up going to seminary school at Princeton Theological Seminary. That landed me from there to Atlanta, Georgia, where I served as the executive pastor of the Red Folk Christian Church in Decatur, Georgia. And then I served there 8 years and was called to serve as pastor here in the Alexandria community at such a historic church founded by 50 former enslaved African Americans who, after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863 by Abraham Lincoln, 3 months later at the La Overture Hospital, 50 men got together and formed the Old Shiloh Society, which later became the Shiloh Baptist Church, founded on the grounds of the largest slave trading company in America. So a lot of history, on the place where I pastor, and I serve a wonderful people here. As well, you and I are both life coaches, trying to make sure we do our best to inspire and encourage people. And I love to see people thrive. I love to see people walk in their why. Love to see people live in purpose, and love to see people dream big. And so if I had to say, who am I? That's what I would say. Professionally, I'm also the husband of one of the most phenomenal women I know in the person of Crystal Knight Heatley. And I'm the father of William Quincey and Queen Kelsey Heatley as well. And also an assistant coach for his flag football team. So we got practice today. So, and they won their first game. So we're glad about that. So we're good.
I've known many good friends who are pastors. And I know one thing about the title pastor. That means you never have enough to do.
Yes.
So you're always busy. So how do you find the time to be a coach with your kids and to be a life coach? How do you have time?
Well, when I think about the life coach, some of that flows out of, the gifting that I feel God has given me. So that's an easier transition. Because I do a lot of that sort of unconventionally and extemporaneously, just in dealing with members and, being their pastor and being their shepherd. The time that I have for my family those are precious moments. I've often said, I can get another church, but I can't get another family. And if I do, it's more difficult to do so. My children have one father. My wife has one husband. So their time is important, and it's actually, I hold family in a high regard, especially in ministry. I say it like this, and I tell my church, before God created the church, He created the family, and so family is always first. And I take pride in making sure that I'm there, that my children know that they have a father before they have a pastor, and that my wife knows that she has a husband and a partner before she has a pastor. And so they are a priority in my life. And when they call, I come running, and I schedule time to do so. I have a funny story. When we were interviewing for this position, we actually interviewed my wife as well. And she told them that, she being a PK, a preacher's kid, her father was a pastor. And she told them, like, look, Sundays are for worship and family. So on Sundays after church, it's family time. And so coming in the door, we don't have any church meetings on Sunday. We don't have any administrative transactions on Sunday. We go to worship, we go to home, we leave that for Monday through Saturday. And I've tried to model that, family is first. So if my family have an obligation, then I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be there for my family.
Even with the point I made of the joke I made that you don't have enough to do, but when do you have time to relax? With all the things you do, when do you have time to just slow down and take it easy?
Self-care is very important. I actually told this to my staff 2 weeks ago. Well, actually last week. I'm in the best time of the year for me because it's football season. So I played football in high school. I come from a family of coaches. My father was a football coach and a basketball coach. I come from a sports family. So it's football season, man. So I particularly love college football, and of course the NFL. So once sermon prep is done on Saturdays, man, I'm good. I can stay in the house, wake up with college game day at 9 a.m., look at the 12 o'clock game, the 3:30 game, the 7 o'clock game, and then go worship the Lord on Sunday, and then come back and look at the 1 o'clock, the 4:25, the 8:20 game. And we got games on Thursdays, man. And it's with this new NFL Plus, man, hey man, I'm okay. Like that's passionate for me, because I think there's so many life lessons in the game of football and sports in general, particularly in the game of football. It really is a game of chess every time you get on that field, trying to understand what your opponent is doing, um, you know, defensively, but then taking your shots, as they would say, which I take it just walks of faith, on the field as well. You got to be prepared. You have to practice. That speaks about preparation. And then I just love the motivating factor that coaches have to give, to their teams, and you have to be well organized. I mean, people don't understand about the training staff and the coaching staff and the equipment staff and the logistics and the food, all these moving parts just to play a football game, that are necessary. So there's business principles there as well. I just think it's wonderful. But I love to kind of have time to do that and just kind of sit there. I do take what I consider to be my Sabbath day, which is Monday. On Monday I pretty much don't try to do anything, but just try to relax, and try to get recharged and be restored and renewed as well. And then but I'm at that critical stage in life. I got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. Sorry, an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. So my time is devoted to them, and these are critical and crucial years. And I just find that God is faithful through it all, man. So I take each day at a time.
What would you say is your biggest accomplishment in your last 10 years?
Biggest accomplishment in the last 10 years is definitely becoming married. My wife and I will celebrate 10 years in December. Yeah, that is the biggest one. And that is the most important one. Just sharing your life with someone, and allowing them to be your mirror, because they see everything that you are, and you see everything that they are. And then, moving along with that, having a family, but trying to make sure that the two of you stay on course and stay important, not just for them, but more so for yourselves. And yeah, I would put that as the highest, because that's something that I had to do with the consent of someone else, which means I had to be my best self. Becoming a pastor is more of a calling. I know God called me here, and I had some facts that are working there. And then of course I've written 2 books, and in the past 10 years, let me see, I've got my doctorate, but that was something that I could, you can do that with the help of other people. But that marriage thing, that is that is quite a feat. So I'm happy to say that's my biggest accomplishment.
Absolutely. We are on with the incomparable Dr. Taft Quincey Heatley. He is just an amazing, amazing man. And the most of us who are not in the ministry have a certain perception of those who are pastors, that the only mentor you have is God. My question to you, and I'm a basketball fan, and I remember back in the 1990, 92, when they had the Dream Team. And I want to ask you, if you had to put together a dream team of anybody in the history of the world, anybody on your dream team, and you are one of the members of your dream team, who would the other members of your dream team be?
I would say Jesus Christ, of course, would be the first one. That's self-explanatory. You don't need to say any more about that. Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays. He was the 5th president of Morehouse College and also the mentor to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. He's also a founding member of my fraternity's chapter, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, side chapter at Morehouse. He was the advisor to the founding of that chapter. So I would definitely want to have him there. Dr. Ernest Everett Just, one of the founding members of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Would love to have him be a part of the dream team as well. I want to have Harriet Tubman on there as well.
Okay.
I want to speak with her to see, about her tenacity and courage, to do what she's done. And the fifth person I probably would say is I'll probably say Frederick Douglass.
Okay.
Yeah, Frederick Douglass. Very prominent in our history. And then there's so many other people that I would like to talk to, in the moment to think about that. But yeah.
That's a dream team. Well, I was going to ask you this question because before we get ready to get out of here in the next segment, would I be right if I assumed that the captain of that team would be Jesus?
Of course. No question.
You will win every game. Are you ready to get into our next segment?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, here we are in the segment we call On the Horizon. This is where we ask our guests to let my listening audience know what's going on, what's on the horizon, what's happening. So now is the time for you, Dr. Heatley, to tell everybody what's happening with Dr. Taft Quincey Heatley.
Well, right now I can say that I have just recently released the book entitled The Pandemic Pastor. The audio book at that. So it's available in print form, it's available in the electronic Kindle version, and it's available in audiobook on all platforms. I'm excited about this book. I really feel that God inspired me to write this book during the pandemic. Many of you, I'm sure many of your listeners, as you well know, that when the pandemic hit, it affected every area of society, and certainly it affected the church. The place that people gather for a sense of refuge. In fact, our name Shiloh, where our pastor names refuge, peace, and rest, was unavailable because it was dangerous to do so. And so what do you do when the place where the community gathers for the inspiration, for the consolation, for the compassion, for the rest, for the peace, is no longer available? But God is. And so I speak about in the book, it's really a book on leadership, about leading through crisis and about wisdom that I learned. And I've learned some things through that process. For any leader, you definitely have to know the culture of your organization before you desire to change it or to transform it. And I think that leaders need to do a great job, in particular pastors and leaders need to do a good job of assessing the health of the culture of the organization. That's important. That will allow you to remain relevant in whatever it is you're doing. You can't take things for granted. And then as you're doing all of this, you have to really work on your self-care and your mental health status. You need to know how you're doing. And frankly, you need to be able to say that it's okay to not be okay. And then seek the requisite help to do that. Throughout that book, that's my largest chapter where I really speak about something one of my members shared with me. She is Dr. Bevan Malone, and she actually leads the largest nurses union here in Washington, D.C. And she's a psychiatric nurse and a trauma nurse at that, and a psychologist. She says that there are 3 stressors in life. There are the inevitable stressors. Those are the things that are going to happen naturally. And her examples are, of course, death. And the grief that comes along that, and taxes, the things that you cannot avoid. Then you have the chosen stressors. I'm sorry, not the chosen stressors, the imposed stressors. And that's something like the pandemic. That's something that was like imposed upon us that we had to deal with, and that you could not get around. But then she has the chosen stressors. And those are the things that we invite into our lives that bring us stress. And that could be people, that could be situations, that because of some of the decisions that we made. And we have to know how to handle those stressors and then discern between the two. And some of them, can be interrelated. But knowing which ones you're dealing with will help you to understand how you need to handle yourself and get the requisite help. So I talk about that in the book as well. I talk about the necessity for being relevant, and I found some of that out giving our virtual presence. When the pandemic hit, we just did church a different way, but we never closed the church. Although the doors may have been inaccessible for in-person worship, we worship every Sunday. And we found that given that we have a community congregation, some things actually work better during our weekly ministries via the Zoom platforms. We already had, multiple Zoom platforms. We already had multiple platforms by which to send our services. So it was easier for us to make the transition. And I recognize that some ministries got caught and didn't know what to do. But I thank God for God's wisdom and for willing people to be able to do the thing. And so it worked out very well. So I kind of talked through some of those scenarios. I posed some self-examination questions for leaders, and I also even offer prayers for them, as they move through that. And I'm happy to say, that it's there. So, hey, it's available on Amazon. It's available on Audible, Spotify, Barnes and Nobles, Google, any platform where you can get an audio book or a Kindle version where all books are sold. Pandemic Pastor's there, and I would love for you to support it. I believe it'll help you.
I'm so glad you said that, because my listening audience already knows this, that a little bit about me, that I'm a very strong C- student when it comes to school. And looking at what's behind you, all those books that you have, oh my God, that's intimidating to me. So what I want you to help me out with is talk to me like I'm a 7th grader. And that's not hard to do. But so how do I get this book on my iPhone?
If you want to get this book on your iPhone, you have an app that says Apple Books. Click on that app. You can either type in my name, Taft Quincey Heatley, Dr. Taft Quincey Heatley, or just type in The Pandemic Pastor. And when you do so, it will come up in 2 versions. It will come up in a version that is a Kindle version that you can read. I'm saying Kindle, but it's actually an electronic version that you can read, or you can download the audio version. You can do the same thing on Amazon. You can do the same thing on Barnes and Noble. You can do the same thing in Google and Google Books as well, and find both versions there. If you would like to do a one-stop shop, go to my website, tabquincyheatley.com, and you'll find everything there. You'll also find a leadership session I entitled called the Post-Pandemic Mindset, the Leader Edition. I did a coaching session where I spoke with other coaches and other leaders about the things that they should do to think about how they are going to survive and live and thrive in the post-pandemic world. And I looked about, of course, looking at opportunities, talked about, of course, executing your vision, your thinking vision. And there's 5 sessions that are there that's available via audio. If you want the Zoom version, you can see me, coaching you and talking you through everything just like this. That's available on the website as well. So that's the one-stop shop. We can get everything. But, if you want to just take a chance, just Google my name and you'll see the things come up. But it's available on all those platforms.
I have to say that we are on with the incomparable Dr. Taft Quincey Heatley, pastor and author of The Pandemic Pastor. Just knowing you, I know one thing. You have used nearly every letter in the alphabet in your name. So I know you're a very resourceful person. What are some of the strategies that you use to market your book? Some of the resources that you've used, so we can talk to help some new authors. What are the things that you've used to publish your book?
Things that I've learned, and you can appreciate this being an entrepreneur as well, is that if you're going to do something, you have to research it and find out what's the best way to do it. What I would say to a new author out there, first of all, just write. You got an idea, write. And once you have that idea, and when you're writing, you want to get to publish, it's really not as complicated as people make it, to be. Of course, you can reach out to me via email, tqh@taftquincyheatley.com, and I would be more than happy to just give you a few pointers. But one of the things I found out is, Amazon is a wonderful platform. They have a platform called Kindle Direct, where you can actually publish your book there. And once you publish your book there, there's another platform called Draft to Digital. Draft to Digital, where you can actually publish your digital version of your book right there. And from there, they're partnered with Findaway Voices, where you can do your audio version. For your audio book, you just need to find a studio, and do some studio time and record your words. But you're going to need a manuscript before you do anything. Google book editing. You can find an editor that you can, go to look at your grammar, your syntax. And once you have that together, there's a wonderful place called Fiverr, where you can go and actually get your book cover done, get your book design done. That's for your audio book, for your Kindle version, and even for your print version. It's all there, and it's very, very affordable. And once you have all those things, because you're gonna need a cover, you're gonna need a manuscript to be able to upload to Kindle Direct, which is Amazon's publishing. It used to be called CreateSpace. And once you do that, you can publish it and it'll be available on Amazon. And from there, Amazon pushes it to multiple platforms. It's very simple to do. But if you want to reach out to me again, email me, tqh@taftquincyheatley.com. Just say, I heard you on the Melvin Capers podcast and want to know about being the author. I'm very, very happy to do a Zoom call with you, free of charge, just to let you know, hey, you can do this, or encourage you to do that. But it's a very simple process. The most intimidating part is just to write. And I'm saying, look, if it's your idea, just write it. If it makes sense to you, write it. If it doesn't make sense to you, write it. But just get in the process of writing, and we'll see what God does with you. Because I believe that there's a book in all of us, because we all have a story to tell.
You ready to get in the Connect segment?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So here we are in our final segment. We call this the Connect segment. And we want to find out from Dr. Taft, Quincey Heatley, how do we get in touch with you? I know we said it in the last segment, but I need your driver's license, your credit card number, your fingerprint. Tell my listening audience, how do we contact you? How do we connect with you?
Best way to connect with me is my website, taftquincyheatley.com. You can go there. If you want to do social media, it's Taft Quincey Heatley. It's my full name on Instagram. It's my full name on Facebook. It's my full name on YouTube. Now, my YouTube channel, you'll find a commercial for actually my book. And I'm trying to get more and to do more with YouTube. That's right there. But you'll find everything there. It's Taft Quincey Heatley on LinkedIn. It's Taft Quincey Heatley on Twitter. So everything's Taft Quincey Heatley. And I use my full name because of its importance to me. My father's middle name is Taft, and my grandfather's middle name is Quincey. And so they combine the two of those, Alvin Taft Heatley and William Quincy Thompson. They combine the two of those to get my name. And I do that because I don't know too many people named Taft Quincey Heatley.
Let me ask you this before we get out of here and say bye. And I call it the shout outs. Who do you want to send shout outs to?
Let me shout out my beautiful wife, Crystal Knight Heatley. Let me shout out my children, William and Quinn. Also want to shout out Valerie Burton. Valerie Burton is the person that both brought Melvin and I together. Amen. And so we're glad about her, and shout her out for all the phenomenal things that she's doing. And you can Google her as well. If you don't know her, it's kind of hard not to, because she's everywhere, but definitely a good person to know. And shout out to Melvin Capers for everything that he's doing as well for this podcast. And yeah, there's Valerie right there. So glad to have her there as well. And shout out to you. I also want to shout out everyone that is a part of the Coaching and Positive Psychology Institute. For those who are coaches in training, If you are looking to be a life coach, it is the best program you can be a part of. And I'm sure Melvin would co-sign me on that, and would love to see you enroll there. They're always having their courses, their certified training institutes, and then their coaching program. So hey, check them out. Be beautiful.
I want to thank you, my friend. I want to remind everyone to get in touch with Dr. Heatley. Go to his website, taftquinceyheatley.com, and you'll get everything and more, especially his book. It's called The Pandemic Pastor. My friend, thank you so much.
I thank you for giving me the opportunity. It always is wonderful to have conversations with you. They're so enlightening and very enriching. And I look forward to meeting your audience, man. If they're anything like you, I know they're phenomenal. I know they're great. And I know that your purview stretches wide. So I certainly welcome it.
Thank you so much. God bless you. And we will see you the next time.
We'd love for you to subscribe to our podcast, Capers Business Ventures Connect. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So please like, share, subscribe, and leave a review. You can also find us on social media. We're on Facebook and LinkedIn at Capers Business Ventures, and on Instagram and Twitter, you can find us at CBV Services. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.